So it's been a while since I filmed a video. It probably hasn't been that long since I uploaded a video because, of course, you've probably been able to tell the last couple of videos, but my uploading has been dodgy as all hell from a mix of school, life, pure laziness. I apologise. But so I'm here today to do a little bit of a mini wrap up. It's coming to the end of October, which is the last of the 3 months of my season of library books, and I technically finished uni in like the second last week of October. And at that point, when I move back home, I have to handle the library books back into the library here. So I will have to stop and go back onto normal books. Normal books. So that change will be happening near the end of October, so it's not really a full month, but oh well, same gist. So I have 5 books here to show you that I've read pretty much since the start of the month. It kind of took me a while to get through some of these because there's a big hefty one, but I'm kind of getting back into the swing of reading. I had a little bit of a reading block where I just couldn't read fast. Like I was only reading a little bit every day, which meant it took me much longer to read books than it normally would, but I'm slowly overcoming that, so hopefully I should be able to get a few more things read in the last little bit of the month. So let's get on to the books. The first book I read since the last wrap up was The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. This is the first book in the Wheel of Time series. This is a 14-book epic fantasy set in this magical world that has, I guess it's kind of hard to describe, but in the universe their belief system is that everything repeats and the wheel turns. So history is destined to repeat itself, kind of. So, with new characters and new settings, essentially. So this is the first book. This follows our main character, Rand, who's from a teeny tiny village that kind of doesn't interact very well with its the wider country, essentially, the land, the wider land around them. They connect very well to their own land, and they kind of keep very much to themselves and are very trusting, all that kind of stuff. They're essentially a little hobbit town, except they're not hobbits, but they're very distrusting of the wider world. And him and his friends get picked up by some wayward travellers, and the town essentially gets overrun by these evil creatures that are called Trollocs that kill a lot of, not really kill, but burn a lot of the town, kind of raze through, destroy a lot of stuff, wreak a lot of havoc. And then he gets told that it's his responsibility, they were after him and his friends, and it's their responsibility to leave the town to save their families. And they kind of go on a long epic adventure, which is still to continue in the other 13 books of the series. And there's an extra one. I think there's actually 13, 14 and a prequel, so 15 books. But the prequel doesn't involve them, of course. I found this very slow, like it is over 1,000 pages, I think. Or at least about 800 pages. So it's huge. Quite rambling. Not as rambling I found as Lord of the Rings, which I found very rambling but really fun when you knew where the plot was going. So I watched the movies first and then really enjoyed the books. This was very slow, but I enjoyed it. It wasn't too caught up in descriptions. I just felt that at times it was a lot of the same plot rehashed a little bit. It was a lot of like in the Hobbit movie where they're really just walking a long distance. There really isn't that much plot to fit into those movies, yet somehow they're doing it anyway. That's kind of what I felt about this book. There was a lot of useless plot that didn't need to be there. It kind of felt like it was just drudging along a bit. The overall plot of the book was quite not much, but it was enjoyable. I think I gave this 3.5, 3.75 out of 5 stars. I would definitely keep reading this series. I'm going to take it very slowly and do like a book a year kind of thing. But I did enjoy it very much, and I am invested in the characters now, and I want to see where they go. Then next, I read Vicious by V.E. Schwab. This is an adult novel about superheroes, essentially, that have kind of created themselves, and everyone talks about this. It is given a lot of hype and praise, and it is so worth it. It's a great book. I loved the characters, I loved the plot. I found it so engaging and thrilling, and everything was happening, and I loved it. I've hired this out from the library, of course, but I have now got it on my list of things that I need to buy for my own shelf because it is just so good. This could possibly be one of my favorite books of the year. Um, could have happened that I was coming off an X-Men kick, so the idea of superheroes and superpowers really appealed to me at the time, and just the way the whole system worked was really fun, and also the idea of anti-heroes and who is right and who is wrong was just really, really good. Much recommend, 5 out of 5 stars. I would give it more if there was an option. It was so good. Then after that, I read Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins. This is a contemporary, reads like a contemporary paranormal romance kind of thing. It's really hard to describe. It essentially follows a girl, Harper, who is a Southern belle, who finds out that she has been gifted the powers of a paladin, which she has to protect someone with her life. And essentially, it's a little bit crazy. I only gave this 4 stars, I think. I think I would have liked it better if I knew more about the Western, like, that Southern Belle. What did I say? Western, Southwest, Southern Belle culture of America. But I don't, so it kind of lacked a little bit. It was just a little bit, I don't know. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't the best for me. It could have been a lot better. So, not a lot better. It just wasn't as my cup of tea as I wanted it to be. I also read this coming straight out of, I started this coming straight out of The Eye of the World, read Vicious halfway through this, and then came back to this. So I may have just been in a bit of a slump, and that's why I didn't like it so much. But only a 4 stars for me. And then after that, I read Shatter Me by Tara Murphy. This is, everyone knows what this is, though this is the ugliest cover on the planet. No, that's a lie. There's uglier covers, but of this book. But this is not my favourite cover whatsoever. But this book essentially follows a girl, Juliet, who has a lethal touch, very also X-Men-ish kind of. I'm thinking Rogue here, X-Men, I love it, I can't get over it. But essentially, she's trying to be used by everyone for her powers a little bit. A bit mysterious, but the prose in this book is absolutely beautiful. I really, really enjoyed it. I was going to say I loved it, but I found the end it started to lose that prose. So by the end, just in the last 50 pages, it didn't quite flow so well for me. But I really, really liked this. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. It was really fun, and I have a lot of feelings, and I'm interested to see where this goes. I also think knowing how everyone likes certain characters almost kind of acts as a spoiler, because I was always second guessing everyone's actions, which I knew I wouldn't have done if I didn't know those things going in, if that makes sense. Like, I knew everyone likes Warner in the later books, so the actions he was performing in this book, which aren't likable, I was second guessing them. And kind of the same with Adam's actions. So that did affect how I read this book. But the prose is absolutely beautiful, and for that, all the stars. And finally, the book I finished last night is The Kingdom of Little Wounds by Susan Kokol. I'm going to go with that. This is technically a young adult historical fiction, but I definitely call this mature young adult. It does follow teenage characters, but has very, very mature themes. I'd almost call it adult, but I think it's a bit of a borderline. Can you have new adult historical fiction? Is that a thing that exists, or is all new adult just fantasy? Ugh. Or is it all just romance? I'm not sure. But I'd almost call this new adult. It is absolutely beautiful. I really loved this. I loved the way it was written and the prose. I adored all the characters. I was really invested in their stories. But be warned, it is incredibly graphic. If that kind of thing doesn't appeal to you, is likely to turn you off something, don't pick this up. It's not going to be suitable. The themes are very much based around women's position of power and how they can use their bodies, and that's not kind of the right way to say it, but how women in historical times, like this is set in Scandinavia in the 1500s, how in that time women's power only came from essentially their childbearing capacity, and it plays a lot into how that is both a positive and a negative and goes into a lot of detail. So you've got to be prepared for that going in, which is a big part of the book. But I absolutely adored this, the multiple points of view, characters, the whole entire plot. I just really, really loved it. And if you can deal with graphic scenes, read this. It is so wonderful. Like, just, I feel so much for these characters. And I think this was the book that really got me out of the reading slump. I'm hoping if it stays that way, because I read this in only a few nights and it's quite thick. So I am really excited that hopefully I can stay on this reading up. Yay! Now let's play Can I Make a Thumbnail? Do you want to make a thumbnail? So these are the books I read in the last half a month, essentially, since the start of the month. I will be back shortly. By shortly, I could mean in a month's time, because I'm pretty hopeless at the moment, and I won't be that bad, I promise. I'll be back soon with some more wrap-ups as I slowly get stuff done before the end of the month, during this last little bit of term. And then I will hopefully be able to do another, monthly wrap-up to cover the last, week of the month with books that I'll be reading from home. So I'll definitely film a video to talk about those as well. So let me know down below if you've read any of these, if you enjoyed them. I'd like to know what people think about The Kingdom of Little Wounds specifically. I'm happy to fangirl about most of these, so if you have anything to say, please leave it below in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you next time I see you, which I am hopeless of doing. Goodbye.